Back again, guys. Here are some lessons for you for this week's math. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of me through Class Dojo or at my email, mvaw123@gmail.com. I'm confident that you guys can do this. You're sort of used to how this works out, where you have a video that you can watch on my YouTube page, and you can always call me if you have any questions. So let's do a quick review here. We're going to be working a little bit more with decimal place value this week. So let's go ahead and get some of that information up here at the top, just so that we remember. So we have decimal place value. So we have thousandths, hundredths, tenths, the decimal, ones, and tens. So this is thousandths. We have hundredths. And we have tenths. Now, these places to the right of the decimal represent parts of numbers. They're not a whole number, they're parts of a number. It's like taking pieces and dividing it up into tens, into hundreds, and into thousands. So we also have our regular place value spot of ones and tens on this line. Now, they're using some base 10 blocks to help understand and visualize what this looks like, okay? So for the first one, they want us to use models to describe the relationship between the value of the digits in this problem. The first one they're asking us to look at is 77 hundredths. So what they've got over on the right-hand side is one of the flat blocks from base 10. And if you guys will remember, we always kind of drew them like this. I'm not going to put in all 100 little squares because that'll take a while. But you know that there are 100 little pieces on here. So if you're trying to show hundredths, you can use this base 10 block to help you because there are 100 pieces to that. Just like before, we could use one of the long sticks to represent 10, and one of our little cubes was 1, right? So we're going to be using this to help us. If we are to draw in 77 hundredths, we would be coloring in 77 of the little squares on this one, because that represents 77 out of 100 blocks, okay? So first one says to shade the model. So again, you're going to shade in 77 little squares on this one. You can do it easily if you think about it by tens. You could shade in 7 rows of 10, which would be 70, and then 7 additional little blocks there. In word form, that's the next blank, we would write 70, and then you have a blank here. That would be 7. This is hundredths. Okay, so far so good. Here it is in decimal form. Here it is us representing it. Instead of having that 100 there, you will actually have colored them in. I'm going to estimate a little bit here and say you probably have all of this colored in. Ish, okay? Since I didn't do it exactly, but that's about what you should have colored in, and those should be blank there, right? Gonna have a couple rows there. Look at me touching the board with my fingers like I tell you guys not to. Anyway, you're gonna have your 77 hundredths shaded in. We will have filled in the word form, 77 hundredths. The reason we say that is because this goes to the hundredths place. All right, standard form right here, word form right here. The place value chart that's on your page, we can also use for putting this number in. If they want us to put it in the place value chart, all you're going to do is put it in the places where it belongs, and it's got it labeled for you. We have tens and ones. The decimal points right here in the middle, they kind of show it with a red dot right there. Then we have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Right? So we're going to put this number where it belongs. Here's our decimal point. So if you're writing it, there's where you have, right? You have 77 hundredths. Look at number 2. We're going to be talking about the relationship as we move from one place value spot to another. So the value of the 7 here is 7/10, right? And they're asking us to fill that in on that first blank. That's the value of this one. So the value of that number is 7/10. You're actually going to just write the word 7 right there, okay? The value of the 7 in the hundredths place right here is 7 hundredths, right? We just take whatever digit you have here and put it in the correct spot. Oh, look at this. I just made a mistake here. Go back to this one. I wrote 700ths on that one. We didn't want 700ths on that one. We want 7/10. There we go. That's correct. So this 7 is in the tenths place, so it's 7/10. The 7 is in the hundredths place, so its value is 700ths. All right. The next spot says use a calculator to find 7/10 divided by 700ths. So I did it just a second ago, and you know what it is? It is 10. What they're trying to show you is as you move from place value spot to place value spot, when you're moving this way, it's 10 times larger, right? Remember this from way back when? Every time you move one spot this way, it's 10 times larger, okay? So right here, it says the value of the 7 in the tenths place, this one, is 10 times bigger than this one. So you're going to put 10 right there. This digit right here, the value of that, notice there's a fraction here. Because when you move this way you multiply, that means when you're moving the opposite direction on that, you're going to do the opposite of that. So if you multiply by 10 each space that you go up, you're going to divide by 10 when you're going down. So this digit right here is 1/10, okay? I know that this sounds a little funny. The more we work with it, it will make sense. But remember, every jump you take, it's 10 times more when you're moving this way. That means we divide by 10 going that way. So it's 1/10 when you fill this in on your page. We'll be working more with these and it will make more sense later, but I just want you to see the beginnings of it for now, okay? Here is another problem on the back of our page. You'll notice this time they are using the cube, the 3D cube. This represents thousandths because there are 1,000 little pieces on that cube. Okay? Here's our place value chart. I'll do one underneath here. Maybe I should erase this one so we don't get confused, okay? So let me take this out of our space so we can work on a new problem. So again, this time we're working with thousandths because there are 1,000 little pieces. Here's our place value chart. I'm going to just draw the little quick one on here. Mine's going to have some abbreviations on it so you don't have to sit and watch me do this forever and ever. So this is tens, this is ones, this is tenths. I'm going to go ahead and write this out. This is hundredths, and this is thousandths. Okay, so on our chart, our decimal point is right here in the middle that separates the decimal place value from the whole number place value. So we have a number. It looks like this. I'm going to put it in blue so you can see it really well. Let's see what this number is. This number is 27 thousandths because it goes to the thousandths place. That's what's shown on that block, right? There are 27 cubes that have been colored in. Let's put this number in our place value spot. All you have to do is follow along. There's no whole number here, so we can put the 0 right there. You'll notice your decimal lines up right there. We have 0/10ths, we have 2 hundredths, and we have 7 thousandths. Okay, let's follow along with number 2. The digit in the thousandths place is 7. It has a value of 7,000, right? If the digit were to move to the hundredths place, remember what we said last time, if it's moving this way, each spot that it moves, we multiply by 10. Okay, if this digit moved over here, then it would have a value of 7 thousandths times 10. That would make it 7 hundredths. Okay, so I'm filling in these spots. So go back to number 2. The first one, the digit in the thousandths place was a 7. It has a value of 7 thousandths. If it were to move one spot over here, if there was a 7 there, it would be 7 hundredths. So here's your little boxes. The first one was a 7. The second one was 7 thousandths. The next blank was 7 hundredths. Okay, so far so good. Follow me along here. This is spot number 4. If it moves to the tenths place, if I took a 7 and put it in here, it's going to be 7/10. See how this is changing each step? The digit in each place has a value that is 1/10 times as much as it has in the place to its left. So 10 times more when you're moving this way. You're going to divide by 10, which is the same thing as 1/10 going that way. Let's take a look at the bottom of this and do the next problem. This decimal model shows 33 thousandths. We know that because we can look at the block and we know that there are 1,000 pieces here. So let's build that number. I'm going to take this part off. Take these out of here so we can use this again if we need to. We've got a brand new number to use, so let's use what we know. 33 thousandths, so 0.033. That's what's shown on your cube. What is the value of the 3 in the hundredths place? Well, let's take this and put it in here. So 0 goes here, a 0 here, a 3 here, and a 3 here. Your first question says, what is the value of the 3 in the hundredths place? Okay, here's our answers down here. There's number 1. This is 3 hundredths, right? Because it's a 3 in the hundredths place. Number 2, what is the value of the 3 in the thousandths place? That's number 2. Here it is in the thousandths place. It is 3 thousandths, right? Because of 3 in the thousandths place. Number 3 down there. The digit in the hundredths place is how many times as much as the digit in the thousands place? Well, remember, every time we move a place value spot to the left, we're multiplying by 10. So if we're moving from here to here, it's one spot, so it's 10 times bigger. And number 4, how many times as great is the value of the digit in the thousandths place as in the hundredths place? That's pretty much the same question as the last one. Let's read that again just to be sure. Okay, digit in the hundredths place is how many times as much as digit in thousands place? Yep, 10 times as much. How many times as great is the value of this? Okay, for question number 3, they asked us to move this direction. We know that each step we take, we multiply by 10. That's how we got 10 times for this one. This time, they're asking, how does this spot relate to this spot? So this time we're moving backwards. Remember, if we move backwards, we have to do the opposite. So instead of being 10 times bigger, it is 1/10. So we're going to use the fraction here. So it is 1/10 as big. Okay? Multiply this way, divide that way. And they just want us to remember it's in the base 10 system. Okay? So thousandths to hundredths, 10 times bigger. Hundredths to tenths, 10 times bigger. Moving this way. Moving the other way, we're going to be dividing by 10, which is 1/10 of it. It's like splitting it into 10 pieces. All right? I think that should do you for this lesson. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me.